There's a kind of silence that settles in when family bonds begin to fade. It's soft at first, almost like the hush before a snowfall. Gentle, unassuming, hardly noticeable. Calls become less frequent, visits get postponed for a more convenient time that never seems to arrive. Texts turn into quick check-ins, stripped of the warmth and length they once held. Life, with all its demands and distractions, sweeps us along, and the threads that once held us together start to loosen, quietly, almost imperceptibly. I often think back to the simpler days when gathering wasn't something that needed planning. It was just a way of being. Sundays meant something back then. The smell of home-cooked meals would linger in the air, and familiar faces would gather around tables that seemed too small for the love that filled the room. Stories were shared, not just the grand ones, but the little ones that stitched our hearts closer. A laugh, a touch, a knowing glance, all reminders that we belong to each other. But time has its way of stretching the space between us. We scatter, grow, move farther than we ever intended. Distance doesn't always measure itself in miles. Sometimes it's the unspoken words, the misunderstandings that fester, the silence that goes on for just a little too long. Technology tries to bridge the gap, but often it only deepens it. Texts replace visits, screens replace eye contact, memories are now just photographs we scroll through instead of stories we tell and retell. It's easy to think there's always more time, that someday we'll all gather again, just like before, but bonds don't tend to themselves. They need care, they need reaching out, even when it's inconvenient or awkward. Maybe it starts with a phone call, just to hear their voice. Maybe it's a visit, even if it means rearranging plans. A text that's more than just a few words, a reminder that they matter, and I miss you without reason, just because it's true. Let me tell you what I've been thinking about lately. There are some bonds I know I need to pursue. Not because they're easy, but because they matter. The bond with a sibling I haven't spoken to in too long. The bond with an old friend who only shows up in my dreams now. Even the bond with myself, the one I keep promising to tend to when everything else quiets down. I think we all have one or two people we quietly hope will reach out. But what if we made the first move? What if we softened first? What if we chose to rebuild, even if it meant going slow and being vulnerable again? Some bonds may never return to what they were, but that doesn't mean they can't grow into something new, something honest, something healing. I want to chase the kind of connection that doesn't need perfection, just presence. So today, I'm choosing to reach out, not just outward, but inward too, because the first bond I need to honor is the one with myself.
Thank you so much for listening in. Please don't forget to leave a comment, like or subscribe so that you know when the next video comes on Zeroed In with Sage.